The Cursed Conlang Multiverse, a forbidden metadimension where no sane linguist dares to tread. It is infamous for being inhabited by image board entities and their bouquet-obsessed cousins, martial artists equipped with quote alarms, angels, goblins, demons, sino-algebraists, ultra-French, rock and pigeon enthusiasts, and insular hyperformality-obsessed degenerates. It is from within that very metadimension that the language that's the subject of this video originated. Which I'll call 2 colons from here on, since I'm not saying that again. To understand 2 colons, it is worth looking at its features in the context of how 2 colons formed in the first place. Note that when I mention events from here onward, they take place within the Q sub-multiverse. Anyway, 2 colons began as nothing more than a dialect of Starmach that its speakers took with them wherever they had traveled. What began 2 colons' divergence was them meeting speakers. Said speakers soon began to learn the Starmach language. 2 colons also picked up a few influences from some other languages over the course of its evolution, but due to the substrate's dominance, I'm primarily focused on how 2 colons evolved in the hands of speakers. Now, of course, Starmach and are entirely unrelated languages, so they have very, very different grammars, phonologies, and vocabularies, and thus the result of Starmach as a lexifier over a substrate is something that neither Starmach nor speakers can understand. I'll look over phonological evolution first, since that's the development that's easiest to see. Here's the starting point that is Starmach's phonology. That inventory got filtered through A's phonology, using the phonology of all 2 colons. For example, Palpatine hoppas tas pelegis gets converted to Palpatud tas pal in all the 2 colons. The substrate also means that the influences that itself took in before get inherited by 2 colons. The clap and the facepalm were taken from K-bop. The rubbing hands and the applause consonants and were taken from Howlang. The Veller series name was taken from the Veller series of Bad English, and the slapping shoulders consonant was taken from Daniel Swanson's Christmas Carol / magnetism thing. As old 2 colons evolved into modern 2 colons, all the non-slap consonants were dropped, and the slap consonants left behind ended up shifting and merging in various ways, leaving modern 2 colons with an inventory of 11 slap consonants. Like any other language, of course, 2 colons has dialectal variation in how its phonemes are pronounced. What I've gone over is the standard dialects inventory. Here, that is, alongside the inventory of my idiolect of 2 colons, and the differences between the 2 are easy to spot. There's the differing results of the merger of clap and arm slap phonemes, and this quintet of phonemes that in my idiolects are unchanged from their forms. So my idiolects inventory is more phonologically conservative overall than the standard one. Anyway, back to just the stand inventory. With the exception of the cheek thing, taken from skibbity bottom dada, which stands for a colon, modern two colons phonemes stand for digits, which is partially influenced by how vowels were numbers in both archaic and lunge evo navigera. As for what those digits etc. mean, I'll get to that later. Now let's look at the orthography. Back in old two colons, the original script was used. As old two colons evolved into modern two colons, and its phonology shifted, its orthography shifted with it, as seen here, leaving modern two colons script with 11 letters for the digits 0 to 9, a colon, and a space character. That's necessary since different lengths of spaces in a row have different meanings. Now you may be asking at this point, the exact number of space characters in a row wouldn't make a semantic difference, right? Well, not in not in two colons. Here are a 1 and a 2 letter separated by 0 to 3 spaces. I'll go over what each of those mean now. 0 spaces and 1 space mean what you expect. As you've heard there, two colons words are denoted by tone lengths, a feature loaned from the buzz in lunge evo navigera. 2 spaces means that whatever is after the double space, the 2 letter in this case, is not read as a normal word. Instead, it's read as what the language that hates you too calls an inspirational speech. More on that later. And finally, 3 spaces is pronounced with a no word in between the 2 words surrounding them. The no word, of course, being a loan word from ah. And by the way, this sounds like Anyway, now let's look at the grammatical and lexical evolution. Since they, of course, are tightly linked to one another. Yeah.
TRG, you there? I'm back from meeting your friend that you've mentioned in the hyperrhotic video. Also, did I hear a mention of inspirational speeches, or whatever those are?
Chicken Nuggets here. Can you do me a favor and take narration here? My vocal cords need a break.
No worries, I got this. So back when 2 colons was born, era speakers had to learn Starbuck's system of narticles and Star Wars reference. Is as content particles, which in the old 2 colon stage were kept intact. However, the native grammar of era had a completely different system of mostly single consonant morphemes and archaic word order vowels, traits that were inherited from the E language. So as 2 colons evolved, the verbose Star Wars reference, these were phased out in favor of more streamlined reference, is to a canon that the era speakers were more familiar with.
Now I want you all to guess what this canon is. Drum roll. Time to reveal it. The past cursed conlang circuses themselves. As for what the grammar and vocabulary of modern 2 cones is like, you see since it's time to translate the following text. What a majestic serpent! Surely it won't weave itself into the loom of infinity, nor coil into the wheel of endless ruin and rebirth. Oh my God! Its jaws close upon its own flesh, fangs stinging deep into its own tail. It gnaws its bones as if they were the ribs of time itself. It drinks its own marrow as if siphoning eternity. For each word translated, I'll rephrase it if need be. Show the timestamp used to translate that morpheme, as well as the dialect at and after that timestamp for context. And finally, its 2 colons representation. Now at this point, you see I've highlighted all of the its that refer to the word serpent alongside the word serpent itself. And this is due to an aspect of 2 colons grammar that very commonly arises. Word position numbers that are used for every time a concept is referred to after the first explicit mention. A feature that was influenced by both as archaic word order vowels and the pick function in ski. That aside, it is just utterly insane how many past CCC references went into this language. Even just the vocab alone in a vacuum, looked at in isolation, you can read all the context headers as I speak this. Is this what you wanted from me, Agmashwa? Where was I? So, the translation is finally complete, right? Not so fast.
DRG, you there? I'm back from meeting your friend that you've mentioned in the hyperrhotic video. Also, did I hear a mention of inspirational speeches, or whatever those are?
That's right. It's finally time to add in the inspirational speeches. Inspirational speeches are semantically no non sequitur copypastas inserted evenly throughout 2 colons utterances for the sake of quote unquote pragmatics. It's sort of like how "Yeah, I'm a goofer goober" shows up a lot within utterances in Skibbity Bop and Dada, but there's a catch. For 2 colon speakers use speaking bodies to pronounce inspirational speeches, a habit picked up from those who shall not be named. Anyway, here's the translation text in 2 colons writing system. My time has finally come to pronounce this abomination.
never understood the appeal of Agma Schwa. The first video I saw from him had him starting out by trying to grace out the viewer. Obviously, I didn't continue the video. The next one I saw had him starting out by apologizing for ruining your day, which I also didn't watch. I just don't get why anyone would watch a guy who makes intros like that. It's seriously like he's trying to be as off-putting as possible. He looks more like a troll channel to me than anything else. About three things I was absolutely positive. First, Edward was a vampire. Second, there was a part of him, and I didn't know how potent that part might be, that thirsted for my blood. And third, I was unconditionally and irrevocably in love with him. Ragamashuya and his son Gusaba, Tian practices against the lesser side of the invisible origin of life, beset by cosmetic prohibitions of silence and restraint. For Ngu, a slave to creativity, shall make inspection and certification prior to confirmation of Najva Gun's official status. Deny thine humanity. There are no politics in real life.
Excuse me.
What a majestic serpent! Surely it won't weave itself into the loom of infinity, nor coil into the wheel of endless ruin and rebirth. Oh my God, its jaw is close upon its own flesh, fangs stinging deep into its own tail. It gnaws its bones as if they were the ribs of time itself. It drinks its own marrow as if siphoning eternity.